A week since the election was called, enough people call it rigged. Enough for confrontation like this. Outside the grounds of the White House, this was the Friday scene. Inside was a president seldom seen.
The President of the United States.
We hadn't seen Donald Trump do a public engagement in over a week. In the Rose Garden, there wasn't the campaign trail energy. This seemed a president greyed out.
Thank you very much.
Right down to his hair colour.
As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population.
He talked COVID vaccine, but not career prospects. Though there was this.
This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration will be, I guess time will tell, but I can tell you this administration will not go to a lockdown.
He hesitated on talk of a next administration. Maybe, just maybe, an acknowledgement that he knows this White House appearance might be one of his last. A sparse engagement calendar had otherwise taken Donald Trump outside, only for Veterans Day at Arlington Cemetery this week. A long walk into a graveyard under storm clouds. The metaphors write themselves for an ailing president, but he's not reading them. The United States is still steeped in the politics of its presidency, about who belongs in the White House. We've had a glimpse here of the political fallout. It's not just about him in there, it's about them out here. But he lost the election.
The media does not decide. The media does not decide who's their president. The media are propagandists.
The voters decided by numbers.
No, only count legal votes in this country.
You shouldn't have anxiety like this around elections and around, standard processes like this. It's disheartening for sure. Yeah.
Worrying?
Very, yeah.
There'll surely come a time when the politics around Pennsylvania Avenue regain their rhythm. Harmony might take a little longer. James Matthews.
Tonight, Americans on the verge of new lockdowns as the coronavirus surges out of control. The staggering new record, nearly 160,000 new cases in a day. Governors telling residents they may be forced to issue mandatory stay-at-home orders again. The nation's largest school district, New York City, telling parents brace for a possible school shutdown. Officials urging families to cancel Thanksgiving plans. Also, President Trump speaking for the first time publicly since his defeat, but taking no questions when he says a vaccine will be available to everyone except New York. The defeated president still not conceding, saying only time will tell who takes office in January. But our new projections, the historic upset, President-elect Joe Biden, the apparent winner in Georgia, where that leaves the final electoral map. SpaceX preparing for liftoff, but a scramble to contact trace the astronauts after tweets by founder Elon Musk. COVID pushing hospitals beyond the brink. A father of 5 in desperate need of brain surgery turned away the race to save his life. She is a game changer, a woman making Major League Baseball history. And 'tis the season, why so many are celebrating the holidays early. This is NBC Nightly News with
What is my studio right now? Yes, I can.
The spread of COVID-19 is forcing the hands of mayors, governors, and educators across the country tonight. New shutdowns, stay-at-home advisories, and returns to online-only schooling are happening or on the table in a growing number of places. New confirmed infections are breaking records by the day, signaling a surge in admissions to already bursting ICUs won't be far behind, while business owners already impacted by previous restrictions are fearing over what comes next. Gabe Gutierrez has details.
Tonight, as the pandemic rages, more cities and states are clamping down.
I'm announcing a 2-week freeze for the entire state
Oregon and New Mexico are among the latest states with sweeping new COVID restrictions. There are also new curfews in New Jersey and Minnesota. More schools are going online only in Kansas, Utah, and Idaho. And now New York City, the nation's largest school district, is considering doing the same next week.
For hopefully only a matter of weeks, and then bring them back after we've beaten back this problem.
Across the country, many states remain mostly open for business. Ohio's Republican governor may face legal challenges if he ends up closing bars, restaurants, and gyms next week. As for a national lockdown, for now, experts are recommending a more targeted approach.
I do not believe at this point that we do need to lock down. We have to leave that on the table.
This is the line for drive-through COVID testing outside a hospital in downtown Chicago. The city has reported more than 12,000 new COVID cases just this week. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who has issued a 30-day stay-at-home advisory, is urging people not to host any gatherings at all, including over Thanksgiving.
For us, right now, the biggest risk that we're seeing in our city is in these private spaces and gatherings.
Some business owners are struggling without another round of federal stimulus.
Do you feel like you're being unfairly targeted?
Yes, without a doubt. Chef Brian Jupiter runs several restaurants and is now helping distribute food that would otherwise go to waste.
The restaurant industry as we know it is dead.
Tonight, across America, lives and livelihoods are on the line. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Chicago.
I'm Miguel Almaguer. After shattering another record for daily infections, tonight more Americans than ever are hospitalized with COVID. Across the nation, medical centers are on the brink, and doctors like David Chancellor are overwhelmed.
Hospitals are getting fuller and fuller and fuller.
Inside his Oklahoma City ICU, he shows us what it takes to keep COVID patients alive.
Look how many pumps. This is one patient.
But with cases climbing in 48 states, hospital capacity is an impending crisis. States like North Dakota and Wisconsin are crippled by demand and a shortage in staff.
We're heading towards the cliff. I don't know if the vaccine gets to us before we have horrible things happening here in Wisconsin.
At the beginning of September, Wisconsin was averaging 900 COVID cases a day. Now it's over 6,000. In New Jersey, where infections are skyrocketing, many still refuse to wear a mask.
You know what's really uncomfortable and annoying? When you die.
And the death toll is rising in 38 states. After the holidays, when infections are expected to explode, fatalities could also climb.
Heather Edwards knows how quickly life can change.
It doesn't seem very real until it becomes a part of your life.
Doctors did everything they could to keep her healthy 22-year-old son Keegan alive.
Bless their hearts, they let us be there. And then we just had to let him go because there was nothing else to do.
Tonight, COVID's devastating impact on one family, shared by far too many others across the nation. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
As COVID cases explode, President Trump hailed progress on a vaccine today in his first remarks since losing the election, but still offering no concession. Allie Jackson has late details from the White House.
President Trump in the Rose Garden tonight, addressing Americans for the first time since the race was called for President-elect Joe Biden, stopping himself just before any acknowledgement of the next administration.
I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you this administration will not go to a lockdown.
Without specifically referencing the record number of COVID cases nationwide, the president's predicting as soon as April, a COVID vaccine will be available to everyone except New Yorkers, led by Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo.
He doesn't trust the fact that it's this White House, this administration, so we won't be delivering it to New York until we have authorization to do so, and that pains me to say that.
That's after Cuomo said New York will do its own independent vaccine review, separate from the federal government. The governor late today.
An overwhelming percentage of Americans are worried about political interference. He has issues with New York, and he likes to point to New York, but this is his issue. It's his credibility issue.
The pandemic hitting close to home at the White House, with some 130 Secret Service officers now infected or quarantining because of a close contact, according to the Washington Post. A spread that's believed to be partly linked to a series of campaign rallies held by the president before Election Day. The Secret Service isn't commenting on how many agents may have been affected, but did say the mission to protect the president has not been degraded. Lester?
Allie Jackson at the White House tonight. Thanks. Now to President Trump's legal challenges to the election and claims of widespread fraud. A coalition of top government officials responding today, declaring the election the most secure ever. Cynthia McFadden with our reality check.
Tonight, President Trump's latest claim. The Dominion voting system deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide, triggering this response from his own Department of Homeland Security. There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised.
It's very difficult to find plausible that scale of votes being lost, deleted, or changed, undetected.
We talked to voting system expert Eddie Perez.
So you're saying a heist of the election of this scale is just not conceivable?
It is not conceivable on that scale, given the fact that election administration, technology, trusted officials, and transparent documentation, and a complex multi-layer system of cross-checks and safeguards.
Though he says Dominion machines in a county in Michigan and in Georgia did create problems. In Michigan, flipping 3,000 of the Trump votes to Biden. The problem was found and corrected by Michigan election officials.
You could certainly characterize those incidents as technical glitches. I would go a step further and say it really had to do with user error in using the technology, not in the software itself.
In the last few days, NBC News has spoken to more than a dozen state election chiefs across the country, Republicans and Democrats alike, who said there is simply no evidence backing up the president's claims of wide-scale fraud or even mistakes that would change the ultimate outcome. In Michigan, 3 lawsuits focus on Wayne County, alleging fraud in the counting of votes in Detroit.
The process actually worked extraordinarily well.
We spoke to Michigan's Democratic Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who points out Biden is leading in her state by nearly 150,000 votes.
I've really seen this more of as a press releases masquerading as legal claims.
At this point, are you angry at the president?
I am deeply concerned about the misinformation that has tried to sow seeds of doubt throughout this election season. It is very damaging to our democracy.
So is the outcome of the election really still in limbo? Here's what a deep dive into the lawsuits, recounts, and numbers tell us. First, the recount. In Wisconsin, where Biden leads by over 20,000 votes, a recount is expected. In Georgia, where Biden is about 14,000 votes ahead, a recount began today. So, what about the lawsuits?
The legal claims are outlandish and not supported by the facts on the ground as we know them.
Can any of these
Mami, te tengo que sender un video porque no sé cómo sea el video. Porque no sé cómo es. Ah, el nombre. Entonces solo te lo digo. No sé cómo poner el link de.
All the stars aligned for President Trump, and he were to win some of these lawsuits. The math doesn't add up. I just don't see any path for these results to be overturned.
So you can share to my WhatsApp.
And now 2 fewer paths for the president, with a suit in Pennsylvania and one in Detroit, both rejected today by state court judges. Dominion weighing in on the president's tweet, calling it false. Lester?
All right, Cynthia McFadden, thank you. President-elect Joe Biden stayed out of the public eye again today as he presses ahead with his transition. Let's bring in NBC's Kristen Welker. Kristen, Biden got some good news with more states called in his favor today.
Lester, good evening. That's President-elect Joe Biden flipping 2 more states according to NBC projections, with narrow leads in Arizona, where Biden leads by 11,000 votes, and Georgia, where Biden leads by about 14,000 votes. Meanwhile, NBC News projects President Trump won North Carolina. It comes as overnight Biden's newly named chief of staff slammed top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell for not yet calling the president-elect. McConnell and most Senate Republicans say President Trump's legal challenges should be given time to play out in court, though about a dozen Republicans are now urging the Trump administration to stop holding up approval for Biden to receive intelligence briefings. Also, overnight, Trump extending its congratulations to Biden, that coming in a statement. So far, no phone calls to answer.
Kristen Welker this evening, thank you. A forecast of high winds forced NASA to postpone tomorrow night's planned launch of the SpaceX rocket that will carry 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. They'll aim for a Sunday launch. NASA was also making sure the crew was not exposed to COVID-19 after SpaceX founder Elon Musk said he had tested both positive and for the virus. It's a historic day for Major League Baseball. The Miami Marlins hiring the league's first ever female general manager, Kathy Park, on the Trailblazer, who made it to the top.
One of the highest glass ceilings in sports has just been shattered. Kim Ng, now the Miami Marlins' next general manager, the league's first woman and Asian American to hold the title, saying in a statement, "When I got into this business, it seemed unlikely a woman would lead a major league team, but I am dogged in the pursuit of my goals, and Ng always pushed to be the best," as she makes clear in his 2007 interview. With more than 30 years experience with the White Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers, 6 league championship series, and 3 World Series titles, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred saying Ng sets a significant example for the millions of women and girls who love baseball. The New York native began making moves as an MLB intern, breaking barriers while rising up to the front office. Now she's ready to step up to the plate again. Kathy Park, NBC News.
We want to circle back now to the COVID crisis and the hospitals under siege, especially in rural areas. One father of 5 says he had to fly hundreds of miles to get life-saving surgery. Ann Thompson with his harrowing story.
She didn't have COVID, but it still almost cost him his life. How close did you come to losing your life? Very Spelled by a rapidly worsening brain infection, Monday, Shane urgently needed an ICU bed and a neurosurgeon. Shane's wife, Tessa, says nurses at the small hospital in South Central Missouri called every medical center in the state and several out of state, but there was no room. Shane's wife, Tessa, saw it all. Tessa, what was it like to hear that there was no space for your husband?
Immediately you start doing the math, and you realize that there are lots of things to all those vendor books.
Finally, the University of Iowa Hospital said yes and flew Shane to Iowa City.
They just come from a region of the country where we usually don't receive these kinds of transfers. Spoke to how stressed the system is now by the pandemic.
Neurosurgeon Matthew Howard operated just in time.
If they had been, say, 30 minutes away, it may have been too late.
That close. Dr. Howard calls Shane's progress amazing.
So grateful. Everyone's prayers and doctors and nurses work.
It's possible the father of 5 could be home for Thanksgiving with much to be thankful for. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
So many ripple effects of all this. We'll take a break in just 60 seconds. There's no dispute about it. Masks save lives, but which ones offer you the best protection? What have we learned over the course of this pandemic, and what you need to know to stay safe? As health officials drive home the need to wear masks, and with so many choices available, Vicki Wynn on what you need to know to protect yourself and those around you.
With COVID on the rise in 48 states, the CDC wants Americans to mask up to protect our health and help save our economy. Research shows masks capture the droplets from our breath, cough, or sneeze, and also dilute whatever escapes. Adding social distancing and good air circulation, and COVID risk goes way down. So, which mask should you buy? Save the N95s for healthcare workers. KN95s are the Chinese equivalent, but beware of counterfeits. Look for misspellings or another red flag if the box says FDA approved. The FDA does not allow vendors to use its logo. The CDC says you don't need either unless you're caring for someone who's sick. The CDC recommends a fitted face covering over your nose and mouth. It can be as simple as a disposable mask. If you wear a cloth mask, just make sure it has at least 2 layers of fabric. Wash those cloth masks frequently, and while not recommended, you can reuse the disposable ones if they're clean and dry. And with holiday gatherings coming up, wear a mask when you're not eating.
And when you're not putting a fork in your mouth, put the mask back up there while you sit around that wonderful dining room table and have a conversation.
Avoid masks with valves and single-layer gears. Both are less effective at capturing droplets from a cough or sneeze. Most important when it comes to masks, wear them. Vicki Lynn, NBC News.
Up next, the life-changing surprise for one of our veterans and those who serve. All this week, we've been honoring our veterans in our series, Those Who Serve. Tonight, Joe Fryer tells us about a vet who got the prize of his life.
When Navy veteran Bill Day was asked to appear in a Veterans Day commercial, he had no idea a coaster was waiting in the wings. Hi there. At that moment, it all sunk in for this Desert Storm veteran. A single thought.
It was just amazing. I mean, this changes my life. It's still emotional, isn't it? Yeah, because it still doesn't feel real.
It was all made possible by Veterans United. The mortgage lender put $25 toward paying off mortgages for vets every time someone tweeted, "Thank you for your service." In all, they erased 11 mortgages totaling $2.2 million. Just needs more to focus on college for his daughter. She has stepped up to help care for her brother, who has autism.
I can't put into words the things that she sacrificed. So, she deserves something.
Deserves it too. So far, NBC News.
What a terrific story. We're going to take a break. Coming up, getting into the holiday spirit, and it can't come soon enough. NBC Nightly News is brought to you by WeatherTech. Always for find your tech with WeatherTech. For so many in this difficult year, the holidays can't get here fast enough. So why wait? Here's Stephanie Guy.
2020, the shine is off the apple. School looks like this, dinner out like this, can't see a concert, go to a play, or sit in the stands. So you know what? Let's start the holidays early. You deserve it. Halloween seamlessly moving into... God bless Mariah Carey. She's not the only one. Lots of people are getting into the holiday spirit early this year. I couldn't help it. Mom of 3, Jeannie Silva set up that tree before Halloween.
When we walk into the room now, there's like, you get excited, get lifted up with every big tree. And I need that.
And the truth is, we all kind of need it, don't we?
Yes.
The Rockefeller Center tree is going up here tomorrow. Most people aren't going to be able to see it in person, but put a picture of it on your TV. Drink an eggnog. When people see a Christmas tree, something happens. The pretty lights trigger good memories, warm, happy thoughts. Bring it on. Stephanie Goss, NBC News, New York.
I'll start with the eggnog and work my way up to the tree. How about that? That's Nightly News for this Friday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Hey, NBC News viewers. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
The President is about to speak. We're going to hand it over to an NBC News special report.
Developing and manufacturing therapies and vaccines in record time. Numbers like nobody's seen before. No medical breakthrough of this scope and magnitude has ever been achieved this rapidly, this quickly, and we're very proud of it. And I had tremendous help from the military, generals, admirals, and many of the great people at the White House. Operation Warp Speed is unequaled and unrivaled anywhere in the world, and the leaders of other countries have called me to congratulate us on what we've been able to do, and we've helped many countries with their ventilators and all of the problems they were having, and I'd like to congratulate everyone involved in this effort. It's been an incredible effort. As a result of Operation Warp Speed, Pfizer announced on Monday that its China virus vaccine is more than 90% effective. This far exceeds any and all expectations. Nobody thought they'd get to that level. And we have others coming which we think will be at equal level, maybe more if that's possible. In July, my administration reached an agreement with Pfizer to provide $1.95 billion to support the mass manufacturing and distribution of 100 million doses, with the option to purchase a total of 600 million doses shortly thereafter. Our investment will make it possible for the vaccine to be provided by Pfizer free of charge. Pfizer said it wasn't part of Warp Speed, but that turned out to be a unfortunate misrepresentation. They are part. That's why we gave them the $1.95 billion, and it was an unfortunate mistake that they made when they said that. We will work to secure an emergency use authorization, which should be coming down extremely soon, and my administration will then coordinate the distribution of the vaccine, and it will be approved, I think, again, will be approved very, very quickly, we hope. The average development timeline for the vaccine, including clinical tests and manufacturing, can take 8 to 12 years. Through Operation Warp Speed, we're doing it in less than 1 year. If you had a different administration with different people, what we've done would have taken, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 years, and it would have been in the FDA forever. This is 5 times faster than the fastest prior vaccine development in history. 5 times faster. Say it again, 5 times faster. Nobody can believe it, actually. 3 other vaccines are also in the final stages of trial. They'll arrive within a few weeks, and they will also be mass-produced, and the delivery will be very rapid. We're ready to go. The vaccine will be distributed to frontline workers, the elderly, and high-risk Americans immediately. It will be a matter of weeks. Get out very, very much ahead of schedule. Any schedule that I said we're going to be far ahead of that. We know that this virus primarily targets older populations and those with underlying health conditions, while over 99.98% of those under the age of 50 make a full and quick recovery. By giving the vaccine to high-risk individuals right away, we will dramatically reduce hospitalizations and deaths. Case levels are high, but a lot of the case levels are high because of the fact that we have the best testing program anywhere in the world. We've developed the most and the best tests, and we test far more than any other country, so it shows, obviously, more cases. By vaccinating the elderly and the high risk, we will effectively end this phase of the pandemic and allow seniors to reclaim their golden years, the golden years of their lives, which is so incredible. And it's about time that they can have those golden years. Again, this process is starting right away. Millions of doses will soon be going out the door. We're all ready, waiting for that final approval. As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population, with the exception of places like New York State, where for political reasons, the governor decided to say, and I don't think it's good politically, I think it's very bad from a health standpoint, but he wants to take his time on the vaccine. He doesn't trust where the vaccine's coming from. These are coming from the greatest companies anywhere in the world, greatest labs in the world. But he doesn't trust the fact that it's this White House, this administration. So we won't be delivering it to New York until we have authorization to do so. And that pains me to say that this is a very successful, amazing vaccine at 90% and more. But so the Governor Cuomo, will have to let us know when he's ready for it. Otherwise, we can't be delivering it to a state that won't be giving it to its people immediately. And I know the people of New York very well. I know they want it. So the governor will let us know when he's ready. He's had some very bad editorials recently about this statement and what's happened with respect to nursing homes and his handling of nursing homes. And I hope he doesn't handle this as badly as he's handled the nursing homes. But we're ready to provide it as soon as they let us know that they'll actually use it. And again, it's a very safe and a great vaccine. Already we have among the lowest case fatality rates in our country anywhere in the world, the entire world, and we perform significantly better than our peer countries. As far as therapeutics are concerned, my administration's also made critical investments in therapies that have helped reduce the mortality rate by 85%. That's, to me, one of the most exciting things. It's incredible, some of the antibody vaccines and others that have come out and have really helped people. 85%. Last month, the FDA approved remdesivir, and we secured enough remdesivir to treat 850,000 patients. My administration finalized an agreement with Eli Lilly to purchase the first doses of their antibody therapy, which shows amazing results. This treatment will be available completely free of cost to patients. 5,000 units have already been shipped, and many more going out the door as we speak. We'll also reach an agreement with AstraZeneca for the large-scale manufacturing of their antibody treatment, which is excellent. We expect to issue emergency use authorization for a number of additional treatments in the near future. Tremendous promise, but remember the 85% number. That's an incredible number. We have some tremendously promising drugs online and ready to come out. We have ensured that our frontline workers have all the tools they need. My administration's invoked the Defense Production Act and related authorities over 100 times and have made a historic investment into our industrial base. All states that requested PPE from the federal government have received the PPE almost immediately upon request. Every American who needed a ventilator has had access to a ventilator. Think of that. Very complicated piece of equipment, very expensive. And we haven't had one person in this whole country that has requested or needed a ventilator that hasn't had it. Every single request has been immediately filled. So that was something that was a great job. And now we're helping the rest of the world with ventilators because it's a very hard thing. We're producing them thousands of ventilators a month. The federal government has 22,000 beds immediately available for states and jurisdictions that need additional capacity. But we think that it's going to start going down possibly very quickly. We'll see what happens, but with the vaccine, you'll see numbers going down within a matter of months, and they'll go down very rapidly. As we continue to combat the virus, our economy is rebounding far beyond any expectations. I see the stock market's up almost 400 points today again, and it's ready to break the all-time record. Our jobs records are incredible. The job numbers are incredible. In the last 6 months, we've created over 13 million jobs and slashed the unemployment rate by more than half. Last quarter, we witnessed the fastest economic growth ever recorded in the history of our country, 33.1%. It's a number that is more than double our highest. That was in 1952, and we've more than doubled it. The United States experienced the slowest economic contraction and the most rapid economic recovery of any major Western nation. We went down less, and we went up more, which is quite a combination of facts. While healthy Americans have gone back to work and to school, we continue to spare no expense to protect the elderly and the vulnerable. According to some estimates, a national lockdown costs $50 billion a day and hundreds of thousands of jobs every single day. Ideally, we won't go to a lockdown. I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully, whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you, this administration will not go to a lockdown. There won't be necessity. Lockdowns cost lives, and they cost a lot of problems. The cure cannot be. You got to remember, it cannot be worse than the problem itself.
President Trump in the Rose Garden briefing reporters on the status of operations to get a working vaccine. The president talking about case levels, acknowledging they're going up, continuing to assert that's because of testing, when in fact hospitalizations and deaths are on the rise right now. It's the first time we have seen the president in a significant amount of time as he continues to dispute the outcome of the election. Look at NBC's Kelly O'Donnell right now, who can frame this a bit for us. Kelly?
Well, this is notable, Lester, because the president, who is so front and center and in the years of this administration, has been out of public view except for a couple of appearances over the last 10 days. So this appearance in the Rose Garden is notable for that. He is giving sort of his own highlight list of accomplishments that he sees his administration has made with respect to vaccines and therapeutics. There's lots of criticism of his handling of the COVID pandemic overall. He has not yet addressed his prospects for trying to mitigate the election that has been called for President-elect Joe Biden. This is the president's opportunity to take questions if he chooses to do that. At this point, he has been trying to send the message that vaccines are coming without directly addressing the enormous spike in hospitalizations and cases around the country. Lester?
Yeah, the president noting Operation Warp Speed and talking about that announcement recently from Pfizer that it had a candidate they believe was better than 90% effective. It has not received emergency use authorization from the FDA and was not necessarily a direct part of Operation Warp Speed, in that the U.S. government did not fund the research but did make an advance payment on doses should it prove to be effective. I want to bring in medical correspondent Dr. John Torres right now. We heard the president once again say we're seeing a lot of cases because of a lot of testing. Can you put this in perspective for us?
And yeah, we are certainly seeing more cases because the testing numbers are going up, which means case numbers are going up as well, but that's only part of the story. We're also seeing higher hospitality, hospital admissions, we're seeing higher death rates as well, and that positivity rate keeps climbing. And so when you talk about tests being part of the equation, they're only a small part of it. These are actual true numbers that are happening, and we knew this would happen come into wintertime. We're not quite there yet during our holiday season travel time, but once we hit that, we think the numbers are going to be even higher. And we'd expect about 100,000 cases a day. We're looking at 150, 160,000 cases a day now. That is not testing, Lester. Those are actual cases.
All right, Dr. John, thank you. Kristen Welker is with President-elect Biden in Wilmington, Delaware. We heard from the Biden camp about the status of COVID.
Well, we know that President-elect Joe Biden was briefed on the status of the vaccine today and on COVID. And, of course, he has made fighting COVID the key issue. Of course, on his first day of this week, his first working week as President-elect, he announced a 12-member task force to address the COVID crisis. We also know that his transition team has been working to try to determine and plan a rollout of the vaccine once he is in office. And part of that, Lester, is because right now, because President Trump is refusing to concede the election, because his administration is refusing to give the Biden transition team key resources as well as key intelligence briefings and otherwise, the Biden team has been left in the dark as it relates to the plans moving forward for the vaccine distribution and for combating COVID writ large. So I can tell you that inside the Biden's transition team, there is growing concern about the fact that President Trump has not acknowledged the reality of this election. And there you heard him speaking from the Rose Garden for the first time in a week and still not acknowledging the fact that President-elect Biden has won the election. Lester?
All right, one other thing worth noting from the president's remarks with regard to New York, he said the government would not be shipping a vaccine should one be approved to New York right away. As you may know, Governor Cuomo in New York and the president have had an ongoing war of words. We're going to return you to regular programming. I'm Lester Holt in New York. I'll see you a bit later on NBC Nightly News. Until then, so long.
Pulled together when their boss needed help battling coronavirus. You're not just any patient, you're their friend. These folks saved my life. Thank God that there are people who want to run towards a pandemic as opposed to running away from a pandemic. Real close-knit group of nurses pulled together when their boss needed help.
We also have vaccine doses available to immunize the U.S. population. So the two vaccines that are completing their phase 3 trial are likely to be filing their files with the FDA for potential emergency use authorization within the next few weeks. And hopefully, if approved, they could be used for immunization in the U.S. population in the month of December. And we plan to have enough vaccine doses available for use in the U.S. population to immunize about 20 million individuals in the month of December, and another 25 to 30 million per month on an ongoing basis from there on. And as of the month of February or March, if we have more vaccines approved, such as the live vector vaccine, we may be able to immunize a larger number of Americans on an ongoing basis per month. Operation Warp Speed didn't only focus on vaccines. We also looked at therapeutics. And we have worked with a number of companies developing monoclonal antibodies, in particular, that are able to neutralize the virus. The President said we have announced partnerships with Eli Lilly, with Regeneron, and with AstraZeneca. And on Monday, Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody was granted an emergency authorization to treat patients that are infected and at risk of hospitalization. The Regeneron antibodies have been also filed for emergency use authorization, which is currently under review and is potentially reaching approval within the next few weeks. And finally, AstraZeneca just in the last few days has received the green light to start 2 large phase 3 trials with their monoclonal antibodies supported by Operation Warp Speed to prevent the acquisition of COVID-19 disease in very frail subjects or in very high-risk subjects as a protective alternative to the vaccine. So, potentially 2 vaccines and 2 therapeutics may be granted an emergency authorization before the end of this year. I think it's a remarkable achievement within a period of 6 to 7 months. It is important to note that this progress has been achieved without any political interference. I said it many times. And as every step has been and is being judged by independent expert bodies, whether it's when the FDA grants the green light to go into clinical trials, or whether when the Data Safety Monitoring Board review the safety of the studies on an ongoing basis, sometimes put them on hold, as I'm sure you have witnessed with the AstraZeneca vaccine, for instance. And these same Data Safety Monitoring Boards are the independent boards of experts that analyze the efficacy of the vaccine and the safety of the vaccine and tell the companies whether they progress with the filing of emergency use. It's not the companies, it's not Operation Warp Speed, it's not the US government, it is independent experts that assess the safety and the efficacy of the vaccine that are being tested. And when the FDA will review these vaccines and these therapeutics, they will also have the advice to public advice from board, the advisory board for vaccine reviews, after review of the data transparently and available to everybody to look into before the FDA then make its decision to either authorize the vaccine or not authorize it. On that basis, I personally feel very comfortable to say that the vaccines and the therapeutics that we have developed in steroids will be judged independently, and if approved, should be used by all in the population. Because I believe vaccination is likely to be the cornerstone among all the other measures that we have to take to help us really control this pandemic. And I turn to my colleague, General Perna, who will tell you more about the support and the operation provided to manufacturing of the vaccine and also
Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to continue service of our great nation as a co-leader with Dr. Moncef Slaoui. Let me start by emphasizing what is Operation Warp Speed about. It is about saving lives. It is a routine task that the President put us on many months ago, and as Dr. Slaoui just laid out, we are making steady progress. And we are ready to execute. Through the whole of American approach, we have leveraged the best of the nation in federal government, local, states, industry, and academia to expand the capacity and capability of the It is big power. We have contracting, logistics, and planning experts available synchronize and integrate all phases of the operation, from development of the vaccine, manufacturing of the vaccine, and finally distribution of the vaccine. 6 months ago, the capacity did not exist in our nation's pharmaceutical production base. We went to work building brick and mortar manufacturing facilities, bringing in the right specialized machinery and equipment, and prioritizing supply chain materials through the Defense Production Act. Today, we expect to have tens of millions of doses immediately following EUA, and we will distribute them as soon as the FDA applies to EUA. We will do that within 24 hours of the EUA. We are harnessing the strength of commercial industry and existing vaccine delivery capabilities and infrastructure. Our nation deserves this. Vaccines will be allocated pro rata by population so that we ensure fair and equitable across the states who are part of the planning to accept the vaccine. We are working closely along with the CDC, the 64 jurisdictions and states to ensure vaccine can safely and quickly get to those who need it first. And then we have plans to ensure that it spreads exponentially across our country and that no place is left without a vaccine. At the end of the day, our success is going to be judged by the availability of the vaccine as the shots go in arms. It is the partnerships we have formed with the pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna, distribution companies like McKesson, FedEx, and UPS, and pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens that have agreed to do things differently, to think, how can we get this to the American people in the most rapid and expeditious way? We will be successful because of this all of America approach, this collaboration, this effort that everybody is leading towards. I will end where I started. This is about saving lives, the lives of the great American people. And we will not rest until we are successful and that we have irreversible momentum to returning our nation back to normal. Thank you. Great job. Alex, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for providing the leadership that's gotten us where we are today. success tonight made possible only because of the vision you announced not even 6 months ago. To highlight 3 of the remarkable accomplishments we've seen just this week. First, Pfizer announced very promising data on its vaccine. Second, the FDA authorized and we have begun to distribute and administer Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody to Americans at risk for serious disease stay out of the hospital. Third, another vaccine. Moderna announced it has reached a critical clinical trial milestone, meaning we may see data from them within days. Back in the spring, we were told by all of the experts that a vaccine was a year or a year and a half away, and the announcements I just highlighted would have been unthinkable. The president said that's not acceptable, and thanks to the support he's provided, we're now on track to deliver safe and effective vaccines for most vulnerable. As I worked with the president to assemble this team and organize this effort, his support is indispensable at each step of the way. We went out and found the very best people on the planet to do this out. You just talked about Dr. Slaoui, the world's most successful vaccine developer. General Perna, one of the world's most qualified logistics leaders. When I first talked to Dr. Slaoui and General Perna about our goals and recruited them to this effort, we dreamed of being at the point we're at today, on track to achieve the incredibly ambitious goal we set together. The President gave us the full financial support we needed, enabling us to invest more than $10 billion to de-risk vaccine companies' development efforts and manufacture product in advance. Our completely unprecedented partnership with the Defense Department has given us a comprehensive public-private plan for distribution and helped each Operation Warp Speed vaccine maker secure what they needed for manufacturing, including Pfizer's ongoing production this week. Operation Warp Speed has always had one goal: saving lives. The President has given OWS the independence it needs to achieve that goal and ensure that we're following the procedures that Americans expect from any medical product they take. At every step, ensuring patient safety has been our top priority. This process has been driven solely by science and data. So it's a shame that some, one example being the governor of New York, have actually injected politics into the process and suggested the possibility of intentionally delaying access to an FDA-authorized vaccine, which is simply unconscionable. Because the President has delivered the full funding we need, the best people on the planet, and real independence for this project, Operation Warp Speed is doing something that's never been done before in history. This success means there is light at the end of the tunnel. Right now is not the time to let our guard down. We continue to encourage Americans to follow the 3 W's. Wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask when you can't watch your distance, and avoid settings where you can't do those things. Because of the incredible American spirit, because of what great scientists and public servants and innovators have done through Operation Warp Speed, we have such a bright future ahead of us. If we continue to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities, then I firmly believe that future will be here very soon. Thank you, Mr. President, for making that very bright future possible for the American people.
Mike Vance, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and on behalf of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, I was grateful to just have a few minutes today to commend the team of Operation Warp Speed. It was your vision that we could harness the ingenuity and creativity of America's greatest pharmaceutical and research companies to speed in record time a vaccine that would save American lives. We told the American people that we would have a vaccine before the end of the year, and some scoffed at that timetable. But I can tell you, the team on Operation Warp Speed didn't. These great research companies didn't. And as you've articulated here, Mr. President, the American people can be comforted with all the news this week that help is on the way. Literally pending FDA approval. The Pfizer vaccine, and perhaps very soon, another vaccine will be submitted by Moderna and other companies. Before the year is out, we'll be able to administer a vaccine to tens of millions of Americans if you so, Mr. President, beginning with those most vulnerable, beginning with our seniors, all across this country, beginning with our healthcare workers, first responders that are going to be It is an unprecedented medical mobilization, the greatest in the history of our country. And I join you in commending this team. Let me also say, Mr. President, that the White House Coronavirus Task Force will be meeting with our nation's governors in our regular conference call this Monday. We'll be reviewing with them the progress on the development of the vaccine, our plans for distribution, but we'll also be reviewing each and every state's specific plans for distributing the vaccine. Continue to urge governors to have those plans developed and prepared and ready for immediate implementation. And finally, Mr. President, as we see cases rising around the country, as we see hospitalizations rising around the country, I want to encourage the American people with the news that as we have done from the very beginning, we're going to continue to move heaven and earth to make sure that your family has access to the level of health care that we want any one of our members of our family to have. I spoke to FEMA today, and as we heard reported at our last task force meeting, Mr. President, we're receiving requests from states for PPE, for personnel, but we're meeting all of those requests. According to our team on the ground, we continue to believe that we'll be able to meet the request for PPE and equipment, both from the Strategic National Stockpile, also from the commercial market, to make sure that those needs are all met. The American people can also be confident because of the system that you established that since this past July, we're actually able to track PPE, gowns and gloves and N95 masks on a hospital-by-hospital basis. So we continue to deliver, as you said, Mr. President, on that extraordinary record in America where no American who's ever required a ventilator has ever been denied a ventilator. No American who's ever required an ICU bed has ever been denied an ICU bed. So the good news today, through Operation Warp Speed, Mr. President, is help is on the way. It's on the way right around the corner. As one of the members of our task force said recently, the cavalry is coming. We want to encourage every American, and we're going to continue to make sure that our healthcare system has the resources to support the equipment and supplies that they need. And we also, Mr. President, as we see cases rising, particularly in the heartland of this country, but in communities all across America, we encourage every American, as the Secretary did with you that. Continue to practice good hygiene, wash your hands, practice social distancing, wear a mask, and that's not possible. We all have a role to play. We all know what to do to protect the vulnerable, to look after our families and our neighbors and friends, and encourage every American, all the good news this week, to continue to be persistent in giving the help of yourself, your family, your neighbors, co-workers, and friends first. And we'll get through this. We'll get through this together. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Sí, estaba sacando
Nene papeles, you know. But nothing printing for me.
No, creo que solo había pues print 18 papeles blancos.
Blancos, 18.
Sí.
Ay, no, ¿cómo es posible? ¿Tú ahí en blanco?
No, sé que le
Morning in case 19840, California versus Texas, and the consolidated case. General Monday.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. In NFIB, this court construed Section 5000A of the Affordable Care Act to create a choice. Either obtain the health insurance addressed in Sub A or pay the tax described in Sub B. In 2017, Congress didn't change Sub A or Sub B. Just reduce the amount of the tax to zero. May still prevent this either buy insurance or do nothing. That inoperative provision doesn't harm anyone, and it doesn't violate the Constitution. Now, Resolution 6 of the 2017 amendment requires the court to tear down the entire ACA, but that theory rests on two untenable arguments. First, Respondents contend that Congress transformed sub-A into a command when it zeroed out the task. That reading is contrary to this court's construction of the same text. It's at odds with how Congress and the President understood the amendment, and it would attribute to Congress an intent to do exactly what this court said would be unconstitutional. Second, respondents argue that
I think I need to type in the controller because it's on 0. Gold 4, I think, but I need like 10 more RP to get to gold 3. I'm just gonna go on YouTube for a bit. Oh, you're under my Horizon main now.